name is Sarah Sypek, and I'm an associate editor with Workforce Magazine. I'm joined today by Dr. Jack Groppel, co-founder of the Johnson & Johnson Human Performance Institute, to talk about corporate wellness and corporate athletes. Dr. Groppel, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you so
for
much.
having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. So you formed this corporate athlete program.
Right.
What is a corporate athlete?
Well, when Dr. Jim Lair and I began working together in the late 70s, we began our work with world-class athletes. Jim's doctorate is in psychology, my doctorate is in physiology. So we created a mind and body training system for elite performers. But it was only a few years later that we realized that what we were working on, really, sport was just a living laboratory. There were other arenas that we could apply it to. So we started in business and law enforcement, military, and medicine. And over the years, we've been able to develop it. And so when it's applied, this energy management curriculum, when it's applied to people in business, we call them aspiring to be a corporate athlete.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, that is particularly relevant to us because we talk a lot about corporate wellness.
Right.
And obviously you have some tips today for that. So one of the first is, I know in background reading on you, you believe that a successful corporate wellness program begins with building a culture of wellness.
Yes.
So how do you do that?
Well, there's several different things you have to think about. Number one, there has to be a commitment from leadership. And leadership has to be actively involved. They have to role model this. Number two, it has to matter to the organization. There has to be a sense of purpose around wellness. You can't just say we're going to become healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Then it revolves around the environment that you create. For example, if you've got vending machines in an area and there's nothing in there that's healthy, there's no healthy choices, that's not an environment conducive to wellness. So you create the environment. And that's part of what happens with leadership and the commitment as well. My own company, Johnson & Johnson, has made a commitment to being the healthiest workforce in the world. And that starts at our top with our chairman and CEO, Alex Gorski, and goes all the way down to every person. See, and that's the next step, is you've got the environment, then you've got the people. People have to be actively involved and feel that they're a part of this bigger idea, this purpose, if you will. And then finally, it has to be fun. If it's not fun, if people feel that they're being forced to do something, it's just not going to work. So I believe those are the real ingredients that it takes to create a culture of wellness in an organization.
Excellent. So you mentioned getting sort of buy-in from the top. You need your CEOs, your C-level to be involved in. How do you sell this to them? How do you get them passionate about this idea?
Well, I think senior leaders in business have to realize that there's two ends of the continuum that we work on when we think of a healthy organization. Obviously, what's front and center in everybody's mind is lowering healthcare costs. We understand that. We're working on that, and we're getting data around that to prove that. But what I believe is even more important for senior leaders to realize is that when we've got a healthier workforce, we're more productive. We perform at higher levels, and that's what our data has been showing. That we've done research now to show that if you're active, for example, throughout your workday, we call it being an organization in motion. That you're more focused, you're more engaged, you've got more energy levels, and get this, more energy not just at work, but at home on the weekends too. And then you're more intrinsically motivated. And we think that's because of everybody doing things together. So I think senior leaders have to realize that there's a win-win on the cost side and on the revenue possibilities as well. The other thing is that I'm also the spokesperson for the CEO Pledge for Physical Activity. And I would recommend that all senior business leaders sign on to this. We're at over 400 now, and it's really cool to see senior leaders saying, yes, it matters, and we've got to get the world moving again.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So after you get this buy-in, I feel like it's always important to set goals for what you want to accomplish.
Yes.
So what are some realistic goals if you're just setting out to include wellness as part of your organization?
I think before you set any goals, you identify the expectations.
Okay.
What will work within your organization? I think that's a really key issue. There was one group, I won't say the name of the company, but there was one organization where we started studying and working with them, and all we wanted them to do was get up and move every 30 minutes or so. They could keep working. In other words, walking meetings, have a headset on. And there were honestly, people pushing back and saying, no, this is not how I'm going to work. They actually had the mindset that if they were going to be productive at work, they needed to be sitting down. So there's a real issue. So you've got to, number one, set expectations. Why are we going to do this, and what are we going to be doing? Then you can have a lot of fun. I mean, you can have within organization, within teams, competitions of, pedometers. There was one organization we worked with where they created a really, really small budget for little prizes, and they put poker chips in the stairwell at the organization, and nobody was taking the elevator anymore. But to see if they could win poker chips, because everybody became competitive. See, those are the little things, you start setting goals. We want to move more. We want to eat healthier. We want to, one goal that I really would encourage people to learn about is the idea of recovery. We can't be linear and just work nonstop throughout our day. We have to be able to disengage from what we're doing, get some recovery just for a minute or two, then re-engage. Suddenly, you're more productive than you've ever thought of being, because we're not designed to just go, 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 go.
Excellent. Well, and then finally, I was just hoping we could talk a little bit about what employers can learn from athletes in terms of avoiding burnout and just staying as productive as possible, competing on that elite level.
It's interesting. I have a paper that I wrote where I compare, and I actually say that business is where sport was 60 years ago. 60 years ago in sport, athletes were told, don't drink water because if you do, you're weak. And don't take any time off because if you do, you're weak. And I mean, it was amazing. Don't strength train because you'll become inflexible and you'll slow down. Look at the arena of sport today. I mean, the science applied to sport performance is incredible. Business needs to pay attention to that information. In the 60s, there was a concept that came to the United States called periodization. And it was basically work-rest ratios, that athletes were more productive and they performed at higher levels when they incorporated rest and recovery into their training schedule. So if we really start looking at what can we do that's already been studied and found to be successful, the idea of getting recovery. See, and this isn't taking a coffee break. See, this is where people misunderstand it. This is where I mentioned a little earlier, you've got to disengage, get recovery. So you think about something else. You think about your child. The example I love to give is if anyone talks to a young child on the phone and the child picks up, you start complaining about how bad your day is. You actually you come down to that child's level and you engage with the child. And when you hang up, I guarantee you felt better. See, that's what I'm talking about. Disengage, get recovery, re-engage. And that's a big takeaway. And then the science of physical activity, the science of nutrition, the science of mental recovery, the science of emotional recovery, where our world revolves around survival emotions. It's okay to be impatient. That's what our world says. It's okay to be critical. Our world says that, but that's not how we're wired. If we can learn to grab an opportunistic emotion, in other words, see the glass half full, but you got to learn to do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. But those are the things that I would say that we've learned from sport that really could be applied to big business in a big way.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. These are wonderful tips. I'm sure our audience at home will really appreciate them and so hopefully put them to good use in their own organizations.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, definitely. And thank you all for watching. Have a good day.